Hey guys, it's the Coaster Battleman here bringing you a pretty interesting video, and this is another Cedar Fair related video, and these are the Cedar Fair coasters that need VR. And Cedar Fair is an amazing park chain. They have been adding some nice attractions lately. They unfortunately have been adding only like one major coaster each year, but still Cedar Fair has been a very good park chain. And I feel like they need to start installing virtual reality on more of their coasters at their other parks. And some of these parks don't really necessarily need VR, as you will see in the middle of the video. I will bring you 3 parks that don't really need it, but then the rest of the parks will need the VR on certain coasters. But starting with Kings Island, this park could benefit with this because I know Kings Island has 2 aero coasters that I'm actually a pretty big fan of, the Bat and Vortex. Vortex is an aero custom looper and one of the best custom loopers out there in my opinion. And the Bat is one of the best suspended coasters and one of the few left out there. So I think giving it to the Bat at Kings Island would be nice because they could theme it pretty well, the VR. Or they can go with Vortex, which is another nice option for VR. And speaking of aerodynamics coasters, I think Carolina Cyclone and Carowinds could get the VR because I'm guessing this coaster doesn't get the longest of lines because it is an older coaster built by Aerodynamics way back in the 1980s. So, Carolina Cyclone, it is an older coaster, and I think it needs to be updated with VR. And my next video is going to be about Six Flags and how they should have the VR, like at certain times. So moving on is another aero looper, Dragonfire at Canada's Wonderland. And if you can, I can literally see a trend to save the aero loopers at Cedar Fair. If they want to remove these aero loopers, I think Canada's Wonderland's Dragonfire has been always a solid coaster at this park. And overall, it's not a bad coaster. It has 4 inversions, 2 vertical loops, and a double corkscrew. So Dragonfire, I think it would be a nice option for VR. Because I think Cedar Fair could go on a trend where they do this to all the aero loopers in the chain. I think that would be a nice option for the bigger parks, but not for these next parks. And I think Dominator at King's Dominion could use the VR. 1, this coaster never gets the longest of lines, is what I've heard. And 2, this coaster is a sit-down looping coaster, and I like the fact that you can have sit-down looping coasters. But unfortunately, this is a floorless coaster, not a sit-down looper, but I think Dominator is a nice fit for the VR because this coaster, it doesn't get the longest of lines is what I've heard. Plus, I think it would be very doable for King's Dominion to improve their collection of coasters and to bring something new roller coaster related to the park. And I think Montezumas Revenge at Knott's Berry Farm does deserve VR as well. This is a Schwarzkopf shuttle loop, and it is very fun. It has a very intense vertical loop, vertical spikes, a launch, and overall this is a very fun coaster at Knott's Berry Farm. And overall, it is one of their best coasters in my opinion. It's behind Ghost Rider, Accelerator, and Silver Bullet. But still, this is a very fun coaster, and overall, I think this coaster really does deserve VR to improve the ride. And moving on to our next part, in the middle of the video, I decided that Worlds of Fun, Valley Fair, and Dorney Park shouldn't get VR. And here are my reasons. Worlds of Fun, they have a good coaster collection. They're 2 wooden coasters, Timberwolf and Prowler. Prowler is too good of a GCI to be turned into a VR coaster. And Timberwolf is an old wooden coaster, and it's pretty rough, kind of. And then Mamba is a very fun hyper coaster. I don't think that coaster needs it. Neither does Patriot because it's a B&M invert, and I don't think those coasters, that coaster doesn't necessarily need VR, and I don't really think there are other coasters after that need it as well. And for Dorney Park and Valley Fair, it's kind of the same thing. The VR shouldn't be on any of their B&Ms, aka Dorney Park's B&Ms, and their Vertigo model and Thunderhawk seem like not good choices. And Possessed as well, because it is a low capacity ride, which is another problem with having VR on Montezumas Revenge. And for Valley Fair, none of their coasters seem to fit with the VR. And moving on, we have Demon or Patriot at California's Great America. These are the two major looping coasters of this park besides Flight Deck. And the Demon is an aero looper. It was built right in 1976 by the by Aerodynamics and the Marriott Corporation. So the Demon, it's been around for a while, and I think the Demon at California's Great America could use the VR. Same thing with Patriot if they wanted to do that for 2017 or beyond. But moving on to the final coaster, we have Thunderhawk at Michigan's Adventure. And Michigan's Adventure, I feel like they deserve something cheap, but anything coaster related I would be fine with. And I'm happy that if they get this, I think I would be happy or satisfied with Thunderhawk getting VR, because Thunderhawk is probably like the perfect candidate for this, as I know Kong, one of the many SLCs out there at Discovery Kingdom, got VR in 2016, and I think this could become a trend on Vekoma SLCs at smaller parks, aka smaller Six Flags or Cedar Fair parks, and I think Thunderhawk would be a nice option, because I know this coaster is an SLC and not too many people like it, but with Michigan's Adventure, Shivering Timbers is a very fun wooden coaster, and that coaster doesn't deserve it. Wolverine Wildcat's too rough. Even though Thunderhawk's a rougher ride, I don't think wooden coasters should get VR. Corkscrew is too short of a ride, plus it has a bad capacity. Mad Mouse, too small of a coaster, so Thunderhawk is like literally the only option for Michigan's Adventure to get VR on any other coasters. And I said in the beginning of the video, or towards the beginning of the video, that I would make a video on Six Flags and how they should do their VR, and I think they should really change how they use VR instead of having it run all day. I think in the morning it can charge up, and then from 5 o'clock until close, the VR could be on the coasters. I think that would be a sweet option for Six Flags to do. But thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more.